Amid a world that is always moving too fast, where one thought stacks itself upon another and the mind is rarely allowed to rest, perhaps what exhausts us most is not what is happening outside, but the feeling of never being able to stand still within ourselves. Tonight before sleep arrives, you do not need to resolve anything more. You do not need to understand exactly who you are or where this life is heading. All that is asked of you now is to listen. There is a quiet paradox unfolding all around you. The earth is spinning. The sun is turning. Entire galaxies are drifting through space at unimaginable speeds. And yet, in this very moment, you may feel completely motionless. Where does that stillness come from? In this journey, we will not search for answers to hold on to. We will simply move gently through ancient ideas of motion, time, and consciousness, not to know more, but to become lighter. As Carl Sagan once said, we are a way for the universe to know itself. Perhaps as you listen to the silent rhythm of the cosmos, you will begin to sense that peace is not found in stopping, but in moving together so softly that it no longer feels like motion at all. And from here we begin. There is a very quiet paradox that seems to envelop the entirety of our human experience. Right now, as you are lying here, as your breath gradually slows, as your eyelids grow heavy, the earth beneath you is rotating at more than 1,000 kilometers per hour. At the same time, this planet is racing around the sun, and the entire solar system is drifting through the Milky Way like a grain of dust carried along a vast river of light. The universe as a whole never stops turning, never stops moving. There is no absolute point of rest anywhere. And yet, what is strange is this: you do not feel it at all. There is no dizziness, no vibration, no sign that you are in the middle of a cosmic dance that has been unfolding for billions of years. This sensation of stillness is so familiar that we rarely question it. We accept it as something obvious, just as we accept that time passes, that life unfolds, that one thought follows another. But what if this stillness is not a reality at all, but a subtle illusion of perception? Perhaps much of the exhaustion of modern life does not come from the fact that everything is moving too fast, but from the belief that we must hold ourselves still in order to resist that movement. We try to steady ourselves against the current, to cling to certainty, to find something unchanging in a world that has never truly been at rest. Philosophy has long whispered this truth to us. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in Meditations, "Time is like a river made up of the events which happen and a violent stream. For as soon as a thing has been seen, it is carried away, and another comes in its place, and this will be carried away too." He did not write this to make us anxious. On the contrary, it is a gentle invitation to see the flow rather than trying to freeze it. To recognize that movement is not the enemy of peace. Sometimes it is resistance to movement that creates unease. When we look more deeply, the paradox of the universe moves. Yet I feel still is not only a physical phenomenon, it is a precise metaphor for our inner life. Inside each of us, thoughts continuously arise and dissolve. Old memories brush against new emotions. Anxiety about the future blends with echoes of the past. The mind is rarely truly quiet. And then we say to ourselves, "I am not at peace." But perhaps like the universe itself, the mind never needed to be still in the sense of standing motionless. Perhaps what we are seeking is not a stop, but a synchronized movement, one so smooth that it creates no friction. Carl Jung once wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." This sentence is often understood as a call to confront the inner shadow, but on a deeper level, it also suggests that healing does not lie in erasing chaotic movement, but in recognizing it, watching it turn and shift without needing to interfere. Just as you do not feel the earth spinning because you are spinning with it. Perhaps true stillness is not a state without thought, without emotion, without movement. Perhaps it is the moment you stop placing yourself in opposition to what is happening within you. When thoughts arise, you do not chase them. When emotions surface, you do not resist them. You simply remain allowing them to pass through. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." Chaos in this view is not something to be extinguished. It is the underlying energy, the primordial motion. And the dancing star does not appear when chaos disappears, but when we no longer fear it. At night, as the light dims and the outer world grows quiet, the human body returns to its ancient rhythm. The breath slows, the heartbeat becomes steadier, the nervous system releases its vigilance. Nothing truly stops. Everything simply moves more slowly, more deeply, more harmoniously. Perhaps this is what the cosmic paradox is whispering to us. You do not need to stand still in order to be at peace. You only need to stop resisting the movement you are already within. As you lie here, the earth continues to turn. The Milky Way continues to drift. And inside you, thoughts may still come and go. But if you allow everything to happen without holding on, without pushing away, that very movement becomes a gentle lullaby. As if the entire universe were speaking very softly, rest. Not by stopping, but by allowing yourself to be carried. And within that movement, so smooth and seamless, there is a kind of stillness so deep that you no longer need to feel anything at all. As the first paradox settles that the entire universe is in motion, while we feel still, another question begins to surface. Softer, yet more persistent. No longer shaped like astonishment, but more like a whisper in the night. Why are we moving without ever noticing it? The question does not rush toward an answer. It simply waits until we slow down enough to hear it. If you have ever sat on a train gliding steadily through the night, you know this feeling. When the train first begins to move, the body tilts slightly. When it turns, a faint pull stirs you awake. But once the motion stabilizes, once it becomes smooth and unchanging, a strange quiet takes over. The cup of tea on the table does not tremble. Your breath stays even. And if you do not look out the window, you might believe you are standing still. The universe treats us in much the same way. The earth does not jolt as it spins. It does not speed up or slow down to announce to our senses that we are in motion. It turns evenly, so evenly, as if it has learned how to move without waking anyone. The air turns with it. The oceans turn with it. Mountains, cities, and even the thoughts inside your head all turn with it. There is no difference in motion. And where there is no difference, there is no sensation. The human body is designed to detect change, not continuity. Your inner ear, the system that governs balance and orientation, does not care how fast or how slow you are moving. It only responds when speed changes, when there is acceleration, a turn, a break, a deviation from a familiar path. We feel pulled not because we are moving, but because we are changing direction. Perhaps this is true not only for the body, but for the mind as well. Most moments of unease in life do not arise when everything is flowing, but when something shifts, a loss, a decision, a turning point. When life moves evenly, we rarely panic. But when the rhythm is broken, we suddenly feel ourselves living. Philosophy recognized this long ago. In Phenomenology of Spirit, Hegel wrote, "Nothing great in the world has ever been accomplished without passion." Yet perhaps what he was pointing to was not only intense emotion, but disturbance itself, the jolt that wakes consciousness from its smooth drift and forces it to look back at itself. The universe, however, does not try to wake us that way. It chooses another path, one that is slow, enduring, and almost invisible. There is a very quiet experiment that has been unfolding since the 19th century. No telescope is required, no need to look at the sky, only a long wire, a heavy weight, and time. The Foucault pendulum, when left to swing freely, does not change the plane of its motion, but the earth beneath it turns. And over many, many hours, the floor slowly rotates away, revealing a truth our senses cannot grasp on their own. The earth is turning. Always. The pendulum does not hurry to prove this. It makes no noise. It simply continues its steady swing, patient and precise, as if to say some movements reveal themselves only to those who are slow enough to wait. Perhaps the human mind needs a pendulum like this. In daily life, we often demand that we must feel progress. Recognize meaning, clearly see where we are going. And when we feel nothing, we assume we are stuck. But what if that absence of sensation is simply a sign that you are moving steadily in rhythm with your circumstances? Ludwig Wittgenstein once wrote in Philosophical Investigations, "The aspects of things that are most important for us are hidden because of their simplicity and familiarity. We do not feel the earth turning because it is too familiar, too stable, too constant. And for the same reason, we often do not feel the deepest inner movements, the slow shifts in how we see the world, in how we endure, in how we gradually stop resisting. Healing, perhaps, is rarely a sharp turn. It resembles uniform motion, silent, without clear milestones. Until one day, looking back, we realize we are somewhere else. When night arrives and the outer world grows quiet, we are given a rare chance to sense this kind of movement, not through perception, but through permission. Permission to not fully understand. Permission to not feel anything special. Permission to let things continue without supervision. Just as you do not need to feel every rotation of the earth to trust that day will become night. Perhaps peace is not the absence of motion, but the absence of the need to constantly notice that we are moving. As you lie here, your breath rises and falls softly. Your heart beats steadily. The world does not ask you to feel it drifting. It only invites you to drift with it. And within this synchronized motion where there is no acceleration, no collision, no effort to feel, a very real stillness begins to appear. Not because everything has stopped, but because at last there is nothing left to resist. From here, the flow continues. The universe keeps turning. But the question has changed. It is no longer why we do not feel the motion, but this. Where did that motion begin? And from this quiet, delicate stillness, we move on slower, deeper toward the first moment when none of the rotations yet had a name. As the question of why we do not feel motion begins to settle, thought naturally drifts toward a deeper realization. No longer confined to human perception alone, it opens outward into a much larger picture. If we do not feel ourselves turning, could it be that this turning is unimaginably ancient, so ancient that it has become the ground of all existence? Because when we look more closely, we begin to see that rotation is not an accidental phenomenon. It does not happen only here on Earth in this particular moment. It appears everywhere at every scale, like a lingering trace from the earliest moments of the universe. The Earth spins, and from this come day and night, not as a convenience for human life, but as a natural rhythm. Light is not poured endlessly onto one side. Heat is not trapped within a single hemisphere. Everything is distributed slowly and evenly by a rotation that never chooses to stop. That same rotation quietly sustains the magnetic field, an invisible shield that wraps around life itself, protecting Earth from the fierce stream of particles flowing from the sun. Without it, the atmosphere would slowly erode, the oceans would thin away, and life, if it ever appeared, would struggle to remain. It is strange to realize that something as simple as turning can be a condition for existence. But Earth is not an exception. It is only a small fragment of a far larger pattern. Before there were planets, before there were even stars, the universe was made of immense clouds of gas and dust drifting silently through darkness. And when these clouds began to collapse under their own gravity, something remarkable occurred. They began to spin. Not because anything pushed them, but because in the universe, motion does not disappear. It only changes form. As matter contracts, rotation accelerates, a simple, enduring rule that requires no awareness, the conservation of angular momentum. From this, stars are born, planets take shape, and every star system carries with it a very ancient memory, the memory of an original spiral. Perhaps this is why when we look into the night sky, galaxies are never still. They twist themselves into luminous arms, rotating so slowly that a single turn can take hundreds of millions of years. Our own Milky Way does the same. One rotation takes nearly 230 million years, so long that the entire history of humanity is little more than a blink within that motion. More thought-provoking still is the fact that even very early galaxies formed when the universe was young and chaotic already show signs of rotation. As if from the moment of its birth, the universe was never at rest. It carried within itself a gentle, deep turning, a rhythm it has never lost. More than 2,000 years ago, Heraclitus wrote, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." He was not speaking of astronomy, yet his words touch the same truth. Reality is not built from static states, but from continuous flows. And perhaps rotation is the most fundamental form of that flow. When this is understood, motion no longer appears as something unsettling. It ceases to symbolize loss of control. Instead, it reveals itself as a sign of a deeper order, an order that is not rigid, not motionless, but alive through rhythm. The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead once wrote in Process and Reality, "The fundamental fact of existence is activity, not objects, not fixed essences, but activity. The very act of happening forms the foundation of being." Seen this way, the universe is not a machine that stands still and is later set in motion. It is an ongoing process, and rotation is the heartbeat of that process. There is a quiet comfort in this thought, because if movement is the nature of the universe, then the feeling that you are not yet stable, not settled, not there yet may not be a personal failure at all. It may simply mean that you are living in harmony with a reality that has never been still. Healing in this light is not about learning how to stop. It is about learning to trust the rotation that carries you even when you cannot feel it. At night, as the world grows quiet and external stimulation fades, something becomes faintly perceptible that daytime conceals. Not the Earth's rotation itself, but the gentle support of an order larger than you. An order that does not ask to be understood, only that you allow yourself to rest within it. Perhaps rotation has become so ancient, so reliable, so successful at keeping everything in balance that we have been granted the privilege of forgetting it. And in that forgetting, we are able to rest. As you close your eyes, the turning continues without needing your attention. The Milky Way still drifts. The stars continue their slow spirals, and you in this moment do not need to hold on to anything. You only need to let yourself be carried by an ancient trace that has existed for a very long time, even before the questions themselves. When the thought that rotation is an ancient trace of the universe has had time to settle, another question begins to appear deeper and quieter still. It does not arrive as a challenge, but as a gentle emptiness opening within the mind. So who or what set the universe into motion in the first place? This is not the kind of question meant for daytime when everything demands quick answers. It belongs to the night, to that moment when we allow ourselves not to understand right away, not to grasp for certainty, to simply remain with the question, letting it breathe on its own. To search for clues, science must travel very far backward, not just thousands of years, but to the very edge of time itself, to a moment where language begins to tremble, to the Planck era when the universe was smaller than a speck of dust, when space and time had not yet clearly separated, when the laws we rely on today had not yet taken shape. There were no images, no sounds, no motion as we ordinarily understand it. Only fluctuations, tiny, fragile, appearing and dissolving within a primordial sea of energy. These quantum vibrations did not intend to create a world. They simply happened. And then something remarkable occurred. The universe did not discard them. When cosmic inflation unfolded, a phase of expansion that was unimaginably rapid, violent, yet silent. Those minute fluctuations were stretched outward. From faint, seemingly meaningless ripples, they became the seeds of all later structure galaxies, stars, planets, and perhaps even the first spirals of rotation. Perhaps rotation was not created as a deliberate act. Perhaps it was preserved, amplified, given time enough to take on form. When we observe the cosmic microwave background, we do not see a perfectly smooth surface. We see tiny ripples, delicate variations in temperature differing by mere millionths of a degree. Yet it is precisely these imperfections that tell the story of a universe that was never flawless to begin with. And within those ancient maps, some scientists noticed something even stranger, an unusual alignment, an axis that seems to stand out more than others. They gave it a name that is both scientific and suggestive, the axis of evil. The name does not imply malevolence. It reflects confusion. If the universe is truly uniform and directionless, why should such a trace appear at all? Is it measurement noise, a coincidence, or the faint remnant of a very early rotational preference too subtle to confirm yet strong enough to provoke doubt? That question remains unanswered. And perhaps it does not need to be answered. Immanuel Kant once wrote in Critique of Pure Reason, "The human reason has this peculiar fate that in one species of its knowledge it is burdened by questions which it cannot dismiss, since they are given to it as problems by the nature of reason itself, but which it also cannot answer since they transcend every faculty of the mind. Some questions do not exist to be solved. They exist to widen our inner space, and the question of the origin of motion is one of them. For when we ask who began it, we instinctively search for a hand, a will, a triggering moment. Yet the universe may not have required any of these. Motion may have no clear starting point. It may simply be the most natural state where nothing is compelled to remain still. Quantum fluctuations do not need reasons to arise. They are expressions of a reality that is never entirely motionless. And as the universe expanded, these fluctuations were retained, carrying with them a faint memory of an original imbalance. Martin Heidegger once wrote in Being and Time, "Why are there beings at all, and why not rather nothing?" He did not expect a physical answer. He meant to show that existence itself is already a question, and perhaps motion is the same. It does not require a cause in the usual sense. It only requires the absence of restraint. Seen this way, the rotation of the universe is not an event. It is a background condition, like breath, like a heartbeat, like consciousness rising and settling within you without any command. There is something quietly healing in this thought. Because if the universe did not need a perfect reason to begin moving, perhaps you do not need a perfect reason to continue living, continuing to change, continuing to drift. Not every beginning requires certainty. Not every movement requires a clear plan. Some movements happen simply because they can. In the night, as you lie here, many things began long before you had the chance to ask. Stars had already twisted into being. Galaxies had already begun their slow turns, and within you, streams of thought once arose in much the same way as the universe's first fluctuations, small, originless, yet sufficient to shape an entire inner world. Perhaps what is needed now is not to trace the beginning of everything, but to allow yourself to remain within the flow, without resistance, without the need to control. And as you soften into that ancient rhythm of turning, another question will naturally emerge, unhurried, uninsistent. If the universe has been rotating from the very beginning, how did that rotation make life itself possible? From here, the journey continues, slower, deeper, and very gently. When the thought that rotation is an ancient trace of the universe has had time to settle, another question begins to appear, deeper and quieter still. It does not arrive as a challenge, but as a gentle emptiness opening within the mind. So who or what set the universe into motion in the first place? This is not the kind of question meant for daytime when everything demands quick answers. It belongs to the night. To that moment when we allow ourselves not to understand right away, not to grasp for certainty, to simply remain with the question, letting it breathe on its own. To search for clues, science must travel very far backward, not just thousands of years, but to the very edge of time itself. To a moment where language begins to tremble. To the Planck era, when the universe was smaller than a speck of dust, when space and time had not yet clearly separated, when the laws we rely on today had not yet taken shape. There were no images, no sounds, no motion as we ordinarily understand it. Only fluctuations, tiny, fragile, appearing and dissolving within a primordial sea of energy. These quantum vibrations did not intend to create a world, they simply happened. And then something remarkable occurred. The universe did not discard them. When cosmic inflation unfolded, a phase of expansion that was unimaginably rapid, violent, yet silent, those minute fluctuations were stretched outward. From faint, seemingly meaningless ripples, they became the seeds of all later structure galaxies, stars, planets, and perhaps even the first spirals of rotation. Perhaps rotation was not created as a deliberate act. Perhaps it was preserved, amplified, given time enough to take on form. When we observe the cosmic microwave background, we do not see a perfectly smooth surface. We see tiny ripples, delicate variations in temperature differing by mere millionths of a degree. Yet it is precisely these imperfections that tell the story of a universe that was never flawless to begin with. And within those ancient maps, some scientists notice something even stranger, an unusual alignment, an axis that seems to stand out more than others. They gave it a name that is both scientific and suggestive, the axis of evil. The name does not imply malevolence. It reflects confusion. If the universe is truly uniform and directionless, why should such a trace appear at all? Is it measurement noise? A coincidence? Or the faint remnant of a very early rotational preference, too subtle to confirm yet strong enough to provoke doubt? That question remains unanswered, and perhaps it does not need to be answered. Immanuel Kant once wrote in Critique of Pure Reason, "The human reason has this peculiar fate, that in one species of its knowledge it is burdened by questions which it cannot dismiss, since they are given to it as problems by the nature of reason itself, but which it also cannot answer, since they transcend every faculty of the mind." Some questions do not exist to be solved. They exist to widen our inner space, and the question of the origin of motion is one of them. For when we ask who began it, we instinctively search for a hand, a will, a triggering moment. Yet the universe may not have required any of these. Motion may have no clear starting point. It may simply be the most natural state where nothing is compelled to remain still. Quantum fluctuations do not need reasons to arise. They are expressions of a reality that is never entirely motionless. And as the universe expanded, these fluctuations were retained, carrying with them a faint memory of an original imbalance. Martin Heidegger once wrote in Being and Time, "Why are there beings at all, and why not rather nothing?" He did not expect a physical answer. He meant to show that existence itself is already a question, and perhaps motion is the same. It does not require a cause in the usual sense. It only requires the absence of restraint. Seen this way, the rotation of the universe is not an event. It is a background condition like breath, like a heartbeat, like consciousness rising and settling within you without any command. There is something quietly healing in this thought. Because if the universe did not need a perfect reason to begin moving, perhaps you do not need a perfect reason to continue living, continuing to change, continuing to drift. Not every beginning requires certainty. Not every movement requires a clear plan. Some movements happen simply because they can. In the night as you lie here, many things began long before you had the chance to ask. Stars had already twisted into being. Galaxies had already begun their slow turns. And within you, streams of thought once arose in much the same way as the universe's first fluctuations, small, originless, yet sufficient to shape an entire inner world. Perhaps what is needed now is not to trace the beginning of everything, but to allow yourself to remain within the flow without resistance, without the need to control. And as you soften into that ancient rhythm of turning, another question will naturally emerge, unhurried, uninsistent. If the universe has been rotating from the very beginning, how did that rotation make life itself possible? From here, the journey continues, slower, deeper, and very gently. As the thought that rotation made life possible gradually settles, the journey drifts onward into an even deeper realm. No longer only about life, no longer only about climate or balance, but about a question that touches the very structure of reality itself. Could rotation bend time itself? This question should not be heard as a dramatic declaration. It needs to be whispered the way night speaks to us, unhurried, unforced, simply opening a space. For centuries, humans believed time to be a straight, independent flow, untouched by whatever happened around it. Objects could move, but time would still pass evenly like a cosmic clock no one could reach. Until Einstein quietly changed the way we see the world. In general relativity, time does not stand outside the universe. It is part of the fabric of space-time. And when matter moves, when mass rotates, that very fabric is curved, dragged along, distorted. Space is no longer a motionless stage. Time is no longer a fixed background rhythm. They participate in motion. When an object rotates, it does not merely spin within space. It pulls the surrounding space-time along with it. This phenomenon is called frame dragging. The inertial frame itself is twisted by the rotating mass like honey swirling when you turn a spoon within it. What is astonishing is this: the effect does not exist only in equations. It has been measured. Gravity Probe B, a quiet experiment launched into orbit around Earth, carried gyroscopes so precise they were nearly perfect. Their task was simple: to listen to the way Earth turns. And after years of observation, the result emerged. Earth, with its gentle rotation, truly does curve the space-time around it. Very slightly, almost imperceptibly, but undeniably. Even this mild, familiar planet is enough to bend time. From there, thought naturally drifts toward more extreme places. If a slowly rotating Earth can do this, what happens when a massive star collapses, compresses, and begins to spin at unimaginable speeds? Neutron stars. The remnants of dead stars are only tens of kilometers wide, yet heavier than the sun. When they form, they spin so rapidly that a single rotation can take only milliseconds. Some of them are called pulsars because their light sweeps through space with the steady rhythm of a cosmic heartbeat. Near such objects, time no longer flows as we are used to. It slows, it stretches, it curves around that violent rotation. But even neutron stars are not the extreme. The extreme lies with rotating black holes, Kerr black holes. There it is, not only matter that is dragged along, not only light that is bent, even the possibility of standing still disappears. Surrounding a rotating black hole is a region called the ergosphere. Within it, no object can remain at rest relative to the outside universe. Everything is compelled to rotate, not because it is pulled, but because space-time itself is rotating. Light entering this region cannot travel straight. It twists and curls, forming strange luminous loops around the black hole rings that modern telescopes have begun to capture. Astronomers have even observed X-ray echoes, light emitted trapped for a time within the curved region, then released more slowly, as if time itself were held back and let go. In such places, the question, how long is a second, loses its absolute meaning. Albert Einstein once wrote, "The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." He was not denying human experience. He was reminding us that what we feel is now arises from a delicate structure, one that can be curved, stretched, and reshaped by motion. There is something strangely calming in this, because if time is not a rigid stream, if it is flexible and responsive to movement, then perhaps our own experience of time is not a sentence passed upon us. There are moments when the mind spins too fast and time seems to stretch endlessly. A single worry can occupy an entire night. A memory can make one instant unbearably heavy. And yet, there are other moments when we soften, when the rhythm of life slows, when time seems to melt, to lose its sharp edges. Perhaps this is not only psychological. Perhaps it is a faint reflection of a larger truth: time always travels with motion. Martin Heidegger once wrote, "In being and time, time is not a thing and thus nothing which is, and yet it remains constant in its passing away without being something temporal like beings in time. Time is not an object. It is the way existence unfolds. And when existence is bent by motion, time changes shape as well. Tonight, as you lie here, there are no black holes nearby, no neutron stars, but Earth is still turning, and so are you. Cells vibrate, blood flows, breath rises and falls, a motion that is subtle yet continuous, and within that motion your time carries its own rhythm. It does not need to match anyone else's. It does not need to chase the clock. It only needs to be soft enough that you do not become trapped within it. Perhaps healing is not about turning time backward, but about changing the rhythm of experience. When the rhythm slows, time grows gentler. When it is no longer stretched by anxiety, the present moment becomes wide enough to rest within. And from here, a new reflection naturally begins to form, unhurried, unburdened. If rotation can shape time, then who or what is shaping rotation itself? We will continue, slowly, deeply, and very gently. When the idea that rotation can bend time has settled enough to no longer feel overwhelming, a new question emerges, quieter, yet deeper, no longer directed outward toward the vast universe, but turning inward to a very small point. If spin shapes time, then who is shaping spin? This question does not demand an immediate answer. It is like a very soft pause between two breaths, a moment of stillness that allows us to notice something subtle. Time, the thing that seems most abstract, is measured through movements that are remarkably concrete. Today, a second is no longer defined by the motion of the sun or the length of a shadow on the ground. It is defined by a movement so small, it is almost impossible to imagine the transition between energy levels in the cesium-133 atom. When an electron in this atom oscillates between two very specific states, it emits an extraordinarily stable frequency, and 9,192,631,770 cycles of that oscillation are called 1 second. Our time in its most precise sense is anchored to microscopic spin, to motions smaller than concepts unfolding deep within matter itself. There is a quiet beauty in this. Time is not governed by grand things. It is kept in rhythm by silent, steady movements that never hurry. And yet, once we step outside the laboratory, time no longer perfectly agrees with itself. The Earth is rotating, and that rotation is not flawless. It is slowing down very slowly over millions of years due to tidal interactions with the Moon. This slowing is far too subtle for us to feel, but atomic clocks can detect it. And so from time to time, humans add something curious to time itself, a leap second. Not to correct an error, but to reconcile atomic time, absolute and stable, with astronomical time, flexible and alive, tied to the planet's actual motion. Time, it turns out, is not an unchanging law. It is a delicate agreement between different forms of movement. This becomes clear in everyday life, even if we rarely notice it. Every time you open your phone, navigate, or locate yourself, you are using GPS, a system that works only because we accept that time does not flow the same everywhere. GPS satellites move at high speeds and reside in weaker gravity than the Earth's surface. According to relativity, their clocks run faster than those on the ground. Without constant correction, errors would accumulate rapidly, and within a single day, your position could drift by kilometers. To know where you are in space, humans must continually adjust time according to spin velocity and gravity. It is strange to orient ourselves in space. We must acknowledge that time deforms with motion. Albert Einstein once wrote in Relativity, the Special and the General Theory, "Time and space are modes by which we think, not conditions in which we live." Perhaps he meant that time does not rule us from the outside. It is a framework of perception, a way we arrange experience. And that framework, as we see, is built from rotations. From the oscillation of electrons, to the spin of the Earth, to the orbits of satellites, there is no controller of spin. There are only conservation laws, quiet and unwavering. Spin does not need commands. Once it exists, it continues unless something redirects it. This brings a gentle relief to the mind. Because if there is no invisible hand forcing you to spin correctly, then perhaps you do not need to search for some authority controlling the rhythm of your life. Perhaps your rhythm is forming from small movements, habits, memories, the way you respond to the world, just as time forms from spin. The philosopher Henri Bergson once wrote in Time and Free Will, "Time is invention, or it is nothing at all." In this sense, time is not merely measured, it is lived. It is created by the way movements follow one another within experience. Some days your time passes quickly, some nights it stretches endlessly. Not because the clock changes, but because your inner spin has shifted. When thoughts spin faster, time stretches. When the mind softens, time becomes pliable. Perhaps this reflects a deeper truth. Not only the universe has spin, consciousness has spin as well. It turns around familiar themes, revisits memories, circles anxiety, hope, and waiting. Healing in this light is not about stopping spin, that would be impossible. It is about adjusting the rhythm. Slow enough not to overwhelm, steady enough not to fall into chaos. At night, when stimulation fades, the spin of the mind begins to decelerate. Thoughts thin out. The spaces between them widen. And in those spaces, time suddenly feels different. No longer pushing, no longer tugging. You do not need more seconds. You only need a slower rhythm. Perhaps this is what the universe has always done, not controlling motion, but allowing it to self-adjust through balance. One spin shifts to compensate for another. One time slows to harmonize with another. And humans, in all their fragility, are part of that balancing system. As you lie here, atomic clocks continue counting, satellites keep turning, the Earth slows imperceptibly, but your time, the time that is lived, is softening wide enough for rest. From this awareness, another question naturally arises, no longer about time, but about a deeper origin. If spin does not require a controller yet still exists, could it be that the universe's initial imperfection is what set everything into motion? We will continue into that question, very slowly and very gently. As the question of spin and time gradually settles like a wave touching the shore and quietly retreating, we arrive at an even deeper layer, no longer asking who controls, but asking what allowed everything to begin at all. At this level, the universe no longer appears as a vast machine in operation, but as a fragile moment where a deviation so small is enough for everything to happen. Try to imagine a universe of perfect symmetry, no left or right, no before or after, no place where difference exists for motion to have a reason to arise. In such a world, there would be no reason for time to flow, no reason for particles to move, for light to spread, for anything to occur. Perfect symmetry is absolute stillness, not the stillness of peace, but the silence of eternal immobility. And then the most important thing in the universe happens: it is not perfect. Very early, just after the moment we call the Big Bang, when temperature and energy exceeded all imagination, the fundamental forces once unified began to separate. Gravity branched away. Electromagnetism took form. The strong and weak forces found their own paths. This separation was not smooth. It left behind small ripples, exquisitely subtle fluctuations in density on the order of 1 part in 100,000. And it was precisely these tiny ripples that became the seeds of everything: galaxies, stars, planets, and eventually you listening in the night. In this way, the universe was not born from perfect order, but from a very gentle crack in balance. The physicist Murray Gell-Mann once said, "Everything not forbidden is compulsory. What is not prohibited by the laws of nature will sooner or later occur." And because symmetry does not forbid deviation, deviation occurred. One of the most crucial imperfections is the asymmetry between matter and antimatter. In theory, the early universe produced matter and antimatter in nearly equal amounts. Had that balance been perfect, everything would have annihilated into light and nothing would remain. But it was not perfect. There was a minute difference. For every billion pairs of matter and antimatter, there was one extra particle of matter. Just one. 1 in a billion. And that tiny excess became every star you have ever seen. This asymmetry is linked to a phenomenon known as CP violation, where the laws of physics do not treat matter and its mirror image in exactly the same way. At its deepest level, the universe chose a direction, not because of intention, but because it was no longer perfect. From this, something profoundly important emerged: the arrow of time. If everything were perfectly symmetric, time could flow equally in both directions. But once deviation appeared, processes gained direction. Order could rise and fall. Entropy began to increase. And time acquired an orientation from past to future. The physicist and philosopher Arthur Eddington called this the arrow of time. And perhaps that arrow was not released by any hand at all. It may simply be the consequence of a minute imbalance in the original ground of reality. Here science and philosophy meet in a very gentle whisper. Because if the universe exists through imperfection, then perhaps human existence does as well. The philosopher Soren Kierkegaard once wrote in The Sickness Unto Death, "Life can only be understood backwards, but it must be lived forwards. We understand the meaning of cracks only in hindsight, yet it is precisely those cracks that allow us to continue living. A mind that is perfectly balanced without oscillation or contradiction would not dream, would not create, would not love, would not ask questions. Inner motion, like the motion of the universe, begins with small deviations, an unexplained sadness, an incomplete memory, a question without an answer. At night, when everything grows quiet, these deviations often become clearer. But instead of resisting them, we can regard them as the universe once did by allowing them. Allowing a thought slightly out of rhythm, allowing an emotion that is not neatly resolved, allowing ourselves to be imperfect. It is this allowance that lets motion continue. If perfect symmetry is the death of time, then a very small asymmetry is the beginning of life. When quantum fluctuations were stretched by cosmic inflation, those imbalances were not erased, they were amplified. And through them, the universe gained structure. Spirals, rhythm, spin. Perhaps spin, the thing we have been following since the beginning of this journey, is not a force that was inserted, but a remnant of the original imperfection. A slight curvature in reality, just enough to ensure that nothing ever remains completely still. The physicist Carlo Rovelli once wrote in The Order of Time, "The world is not a collection of things, it is a collection of events." And the universe's first event may not have been an explosion, but a moment of imbalance. As you lie here listening in the darkness, you may also be sensing very small imbalances within yourself. A thought not yet closed, an emotion without a name, a question without an answer. But instead of seeing these as things to be fixed, you can see them as what allowed you to exist at all. The universe did not begin because it was perfect. It began because it was slightly off. And from that deviation, all motion, all time, all stories unfolded. From here, another question waits naturally slowly. If small imperfections allowed motion to begin, then what keeps galaxies from flying apart as they rotate far faster than what we can see? We will continue into that question without haste, just as the universe once did. Once we accept that a very small imperfection could give rise to motion, time, and structure, another paradox quietly reveals itself, softer in tone, yet more persistent. It does not lie in the moment of beginning, but in how the universe continues to exist. For if we look at the sky long enough, we begin to notice something strange. Galaxies are rotating far faster than they should be allowed to. According to all classical understandings of gravity, stars at the outer edges of a galaxy should move more slowly than those near the center, much like planets farther from the sun orbit more slowly. But when astronomers measured what actually happens, they found the opposite. At the edges of galaxies, stars continue to rotate just as fast as those closer in. If we count only the mass we can see, stars, gas, dust, the galaxies should have flown apart long ago. And then, in the 1930s, one person first dared to say the unbelievable. Fritz Zwicky, studying the Coma Cluster, realized that the galaxies within it were moving so quickly that the gravitational pull from visible matter was nowhere near enough to hold them together. He called the missing mass Dunkel materia dark matter. At first, the idea was dismissed as too bold a speculation. It required us to accept that most of the universe consists of something we cannot see. Decades later, when Vera Rubin patiently measured the rotation curves of hundreds of spiral galaxies, the mystery became impossible to ignore. Her data showed that rotation speeds remain nearly flat from the center all the way to the edge, something that can only happen if each galaxy is enveloped by an invisible gravitational halo far larger than the luminous matter within. From that point on, dark matter was no longer a solitary hypothesis. It became the skeleton of the universe. Today, we believe that every galaxy sits within a vast cocoon of dark matter, an invisible scaffolding that keeps everything from flying apart as it spins. The luminous spirals we see are only the thin skin of a much deeper structure. What is striking is this dark matter does not emit light. It does not reflect or absorb it. It does not interact electromagnetically. It only pulls through gravity. And so the only way to see it is by observing what bends around it. When light from distant galaxies passes through regions filled with dark matter, its path is curved, producing gravitational lensing. Arcs of light, distorted images, faint duplicates of the same galaxy, all are signatures of a presence that remains invisible. One of the strongest pieces of evidence is the bullet cluster, where two galaxy clusters collided. The hot gas ordinary matter slowed down and emitted X-rays, while most of the gravitational mass passed through almost without interaction, revealed only through lensing maps. As if the universe were whispering, what holds everything together is not what you see. And yet even today, we have not touched dark matter. Particle hunting experiments from WIMPs to axions wait silently in laboratories deep underground. Detectors grow ever more sensitive, but the result remains silence. That silence has a peculiar beauty. It reminds us that not every foundation needs to be clearly identified in order to function. The philosopher Martin Heidegger once wrote in Being and Time, "What is closest to us is what is farthest away from us." Some things lie at the very ground of existence, and precisely because they are so foundational, we fail to notice them. Dark matter, in this sense, resembles the invisible support within our inner lives. There are things that keep you standing: memories, habits, relationships, quiet beliefs that you rarely name. You only notice them when they are absent, when the structure begins to tremble. A galaxy does not remain intact because it knows how to hold itself together. It endures because an unseen gravitational foundation works without rest. And so it is with human beings. There are nights when you feel as though you are spinning too fast, thoughts following thoughts, emotions layered upon emotions. If you look only at the bright part of the mind, you might think you are about to break apart. But perhaps, like a galaxy, you are being held by something you cannot yet see. Healing at times is not about adding more light. It is about trusting that an invisible structure is supporting you even when you cannot name it. The universe teaches us this through its patience. Most of what matters most does not shine. Young galaxies in the early universe were already rotating steadily, showing that dark matter was present from the beginning. Without it, gas could not collapse. Stars could not form. There would be no stage for light to appear. Light, it turns out, always arrives after the darkness that holds it. And perhaps following this line of thought, we begin to sense a deeper connection, from the initial imperfection to motion, to spin, to an invisible force that prevents spin from destroying itself. But once we accept that most of the universe is invisible, another delicate question arises, no longer about gravity, but about direction. If such deep asymmetries exist in matter itself, might they leave traces even within the structure of life, within the handedness of molecules, the left-right twist of DNA? We will continue into that question, very slowly and very gently, like the force that holds galaxies together through the night. When we have accepted that most of the universe is upheld by invisible structures, that galaxies spin rapidly without tearing themselves apart, thanks to a force that does not shine, the stream of thought naturally continues to drift lighter, deeper toward life itself. No longer asking how the universe operates, but asking this: why does life itself carry a particular direction? For when we look closely enough, life is not neutral. Your DNA twists in only one direction. Amino acids, the building blocks of all proteins, exist in only one-handed form. Left and right are not interchangeable. They are not symmetrical. This phenomenon is called chirality handedness, like two hands identical in shape, yet impossible to perfectly overlap. What is strange is this: in pure chemistry, left and right-handed forms usually appear in equal amounts. There is no inherent reason for one side to dominate, and yet in biology, a choice was made very early and never reversed. DNA always twists to the right. Life's proteins are always built from left-handed amino acids. The question then is not only why, but when. Is it possible that life on Earth did not choose its own direction, but inherited it? Some hypotheses quietly turn their gaze outward beyond the planet. In regions where young stars are born, light is often emitted with circular polarization, meaning the photons themselves carry spin, a kind of left or right-handedness. As this light passes through magnetized dust clouds, it can interact differently with primitive organic molecules, destroying one form slightly more than the other. It does not take much, only a very small imbalance. And over time, that tiny difference can be amplified. Interstellar dust grains, chemical reactions unfolding in cold and darkness, may have gently tipped the scale enough that when life finally emerged, only one path remained viable. A modest yet haunting clue came from the Murchison meteorite, which fell in Australia in 1969. Inside it, scientists found more than 70 kinds of amino acids with a slight excess of the left-handed form identical to the amino acids of life on Earth. Not decisive proof, but a whisper that before biology, before Earth itself, the chemistry of the universe was not entirely neutral. At an even deeper level, physics itself is not perfectly fair between left and right. The weak force, one of the four fundamental forces, violates left-right symmetry. Certain particles interact only with a specific hand. At the foundation of reality, nature had already chosen a direction. The universe very early on leaned ever so slightly, and if spin is the trace of ancient motion, then chirality may be an even subtler memory, the memory of having once chosen a side. The philosopher Gaston Bachelard once wrote in "The Poetics of Space, the universe comes to us through the imagination." But perhaps even before imagination, the universe entered us through structure, through spirals so small we cannot feel them, yet decisive for the very possibility of life. There is something quietly soothing in this thought, that life is neither entirely random nor fully designed. It resembles a continuation, a tendency already present, passed from light through stardust, through molecules, and finally into cells. You are not made only of stars. You are made of the star's direction of twist. Perhaps that is why the body always seeks balance through movement. Breath flows in and out. The heart contracts and releases. Consciousness circles memories, then returns to the present. Spin is not merely a physical phenomenon. It is the language of life. And in that language, left and right are not just directions, they are commitments. Once chosen life does not turn back. It moves forward, replicates, evolves, carrying that original bias as an indelible signature. Healing in this light is not about returning to a state of perfect neutrality, for perfect neutrality is immobility. Healing is about accepting your own inclination, recognizing that you too have a natural direction to lean toward, a way of feeling, a way of loving, a way of existing. Like the universe, you did not begin from perfection. You began from a very small deviation, and that deviation is what allowed you to live. As the night deepens, as thoughts slow, you may begin to sense the gentle spirals within your body, within your breath, within the flow of thought. They do not need to be corrected. They only need to be left alone. And when they are left alone long enough, we begin to notice another question, waiting ahead, no longer about origins or directions, but about endings. If everything carries spin, if even life holds the memory of motion, could the universe one day forget how to turn? We will continue, very slowly, the way all spirals eventually soften into the night. When we have come to feel that life itself carries the memory of a very ancient spiral, a final question of motion slowly appears, not loudly, not urgently, but like the universe whispering when the night has grown very deep. Will the universe forget how to turn? At first, the question may sound sad, but if we remain with it long enough, we begin to sense not loss, but a gentle easing. Every rotation slows down. There are no exceptions. The Earth's spin softens imperceptibly under the long tidal pull between it and the Moon. The oceans rise and fall, transferring rotational energy into orbit breath by breath. And so the Moon drifts away only a few centimeters each year, like a companion leaving not out of anger, but out of time. A day on Earth today is longer than a day was hundreds of millions of years ago. No one notices, but the universe's clocks do. Farther out, galaxies slow as well. When they pass, one another collide, merge. Angular momentum does not vanish, it spreads. Spiral arms loosen, sharp forms round off, blur. Motion continues, but contrast diminishes. In the most extreme places, slowing unfolds more dramatically. Neutron stars, stellar cores compressed until they spin hundreds of times per second, radiate energy through light and gravitational waves. Their rotation weakens like a proud top that eventually accepts rest. Even black holes, the emblem of unstoppable motion, cannot hold their spin forever. Through Hawking radiation, they leak energy and angular momentum into space, very slowly, over immense time, but without stopping. And when we look far enough into the future, physics sketches a horizon known as heat death. Not a violent ending, but a leveling. Temperature everywhere the same. No gradients, no preferred flows, no reason for anything to happen. Motion mathematically still exists, but it no longer means anything. because the meaning of motion lies not in whether it exists, but in whether difference can be felt. When everything is identical beyond distinction, turning or not turning can no longer be told apart. Friedrich Nietzsche once wrote in "Thus spoke Zarathustra, all things are in flux, nothing stays still." Yet perhaps something deeper is also true. Everything tends in time to soften. Seen through the lens of healing, this is no longer frightening. It becomes familiar. The human body does the same. The heart beats faster in youth, then slows. Thoughts once spiraled fiercely, then soften with years. Passions condense into understanding. Urgent anxieties dissolve into long breaths. We often fear slowing because we mistake it for an ending. But the universe teaches something else. Slowing is not disappearance. It is diffusion, sharing, spreading until sharp edges are gone. Angular momentum is never destroyed. It is thinned until it no longer disturbs. In the language of the mind, this may be what peace is. Baruch Spinoza once wrote in Ethics, "Peace is not the absence of war, but a virtue, a state of mind. The quiet future of the universe is not death. It is a state without conflict, no place faster than another, no reason to pull, to push, to contend." And when we allow ourselves to see it this way, the idea that the universe might forget how to turn no longer feels tragic. It feels like the completion of a very long movement, like falling into deep sleep. The brain still works, the heart still beats, the lungs still breathe, but the awareness of motion of before and after fades. Not because you vanish, but because there is no longer a need to distinguish. At the deepest level, heat, death is not absolute silence. It is perfect uniformity where every fluctuation has blended into the background. Motion is no longer felt because there is nothing left to compare it against. Tonight, as you listen, you may be passing through a very small heat death of your own. Thoughts loosen, emotions stop pulling taut. Everything becomes even soft, low in contrast. This is not emptiness. It is the rest of motion. Stephen Hawking once wrote in A Brief History of Time, "The universe doesn't allow perfection. Yet perhaps in the end it allows settling. And in that settling, there is no loss. For every rotation that ever existed has left a trace in light, in gravitational waves, in the shapes of space, in the memory of matter. Even when the future stretches so far that there is no one left to see the universe, still remembers that it once moved not through awareness, but through geometry, through structure, through equations engraved into itself. Seen this way, fear dissolves gently. For if the universe can move from a violent whirl to absolute calm without regret, perhaps we too do not need to clutch every motion forever. Some rotations are born to slow. Some passions are born to fade. Some thoughts are born to sleep. And when the night grows deep enough, when all motion has softened, we can let ourselves drift in that direction without resistance, without holding on. For from this softening, one final very human question waits ahead. If every rotation eventually thins into the universe, might we ourselves be the place where the universe is temporarily remembering its motion? we will step into that question very slowly and very gently, like a spin easing into sleep. When the thought that the universe may one day settle so completely that motion can no longer be felt has grown calm enough to lose its fear, our journey naturally comes to rest in a place very near, not out there among the galaxies, but right here, in the human being. For if every rotation eventually thins out, if light fades, if the great structures dissolve into the even background of space, then the final question is no longer where the universe is going, but this: where is that motion right now? Perhaps the answer is very simple. It is within you. Every particle that makes up your body carries spin not as a mechanical motion, but as a fundamental property of existence. Electrons, protons, neutrons, no particle is ever completely still. They carry a kind of kinetic memory preserved through billions of years of cosmic evolution. You are not made only of matter. You are made of movements that have never gone out. From the earliest quantum fluctuations through the swirling clouds that formed stars, through the rotation of planets, through biological rhythms, through the nervous system, this motion has never been destroyed. It has only changed form. In a very physical sense, you are a continuation of ancient angular momentum. And what is strange is that consciousness, the thing we often think of as immaterial, is bound tightly to that motion. No thought occurs without a change in electrical potential. No memory exists without patterns of activation in the brain. No emotion arises without accompanying physiological rhythms. Consciousness at its deepest level can be seen as the preservation of patterns, information maintained by physical processes operating with quiet regularity. The physicist John Wheeler once said, "It from bit." Everything that exists arises from information, but information does not exist in stillness. It requires motion to be recorded, transmitted, and recalled. So, if the universe is a very long piece of music, then the human being is not a single, isolated note. We are a resonance, a place where an ancient rhythm can still be heard, however faintly. Perhaps this is why we carry the feeling of belonging to something larger. Not because meaning is imposed from outside, but because the motion within us is synchronized with the motion of the universe. And when that synchronization becomes complete, we no longer feel motion at all. We call it peace. The stillness you are feeling now as you lie here listening to these words is not the absence of movement. It is the perfect harmony of movement. Your heart beats in rhythm with your breath. Your brain lowers its frequency. Your body drifts toward balance. Just as the earth turns so evenly that we do not feel its rotation. The philosopher Alan Watts once wrote, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself." Perhaps he did not mean this mystically, but physically. The universe does not need an observer standing outside it. It observes itself through systems complex enough to preserve information about motion, and human beings are among those systems. You are a place where the universe has not forgotten how to turn. Not through vast spirals, but through very small ones. A thought arising and dissolving, an emotion passing and softening, a breath moving in and out. And when you sleep, consciousness does not disappear. It simply releases control, allowing deeper motions to continue adjusting themselves. Just as the universe, after billions of years of spinning, may also be moving toward a state of rest, not from exhaustion, but because there is no longer a need to distinguish. At At this final point, there are no questions left to answer, no paradoxes left to explain. Only a very gentle realization remains. You do not need to be still in order to be at peace. You are already at peace because everything is moving slowly enough, evenly enough, and together enough. Carl Jung once wrote in Memories, Dreams, Reflections, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." Perhaps the deepest sleep is not a shutting down, but an awakening into synchrony, where there is no longer conflict between inside and outside, between motion and stillness. As you close your eyes, notice one very small thing. There is no moment that is completely empty. There are only movements so gentle they no longer need names. You do not need to hold on to any ideas from this journey. You do not need to remember the concepts. You do not need to understand the entire universe. The rotations have finished their work, and now you may rest within them. The universe continues to turn, and you very quietly are turning with it.